Yeah, Turkey is has always been one of the countries that I wanted to work and to live in. So maybe starting from the kind of cultural side and the historical side, being Italian, I always looked at Turkey as a somehow similar country for the long history, for the lot of civilization, for the richness of its architecture, landscape, people. So it's definitely a country that I always wanted to experience and to live in and to work as well, because when it comes to the UN, we must say that Turkey is a country that has a strong commitment to multilateralism, is a strong believer in the UN, of course, is suggesting reforms, positive reforms within the UN, but nevertheless is a strong member and advocate of UN values, contributes to the UN, to UNDP as well, so it's a very good environment to work in that sense. For example, in Turkey right now, we have a partnership between the UNDP, the development program of the UN, and Turkey that goes beyond our work exclusively in the country. We also have a regional office here in Istanbul. Even we have a global office in Istanbul for private sector in development, because Turkey has decided to finance and to put a lot of efforts in order to develop private sector initiatives that are in favor of sustainable development. And so let's say we call it a tripartite kind of partnership, and that adds some excitement to the work. So it's not just about Turkey, but it's also about Turkey in the region and Turkey in the world. Yeah, that is the $1 million question, because by having moved from country to country and experienced different realities, something that I'm very convinced by now is that there is not one recipe. Okay, something that works in one country, in one context, might not work in another context, in another country. So I don't really trust this idea of one size fits all, and okay, let's do this all over the place. That does not work, and that is a little bit the beauty of our work, being embedded into a country and working together to find solutions. Because at the end of the day, it's only through dialogue, through meeting different partners, different actors, different interest groups, that you can build a unique path. The path that you have in Turkey is different than one you would have in Italy, you will have in Cuba, because of course it's a different history, is a different path. But of course, it makes it very difficult to address global challenges, because it's true, since there is not only one recipe, the big question is then how do we address the global challenges. In that sense, I believe, going back to the UN, one of the big values of the UN is the ability of getting 193 countries to sit together in the same room, speaking different languages, having different culture, but agreeing in the end on certain principles, like for example the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, which for the first time in humanity in 2015, everybody in the world agreed on a pragmatic, concrete agenda with 17 goals, 169 targets. And when you look at it, you might be skeptical because it's a very complex and difficult agenda to achieve. But you can also be positive in the sense it's the first time in the history of humanity that all the world sits together and decide on a common agenda. Now is the point of how to implement this agenda. Totally, yeah. There is not a sanctioning mechanism. The mechanism that has been developed globally is, I would define it like a peer-to-peer sort of mechanism by which countries periodically they participate to this forum. It's called the High-Level Political Forum in New York, where countries every year go and present where they stand at that specific moment in terms of how much they have advanced or not on the 17 goals. For example, Turkey was one of the first countries to go at the very beginning to this high-level political forum and will present its case again, and so other countries can basically give opinion, and this is so that's why I mean a peer-to-peer kind of mechanism is not policing, is not a convention that is ratified by countries that implies punishments for not complying, is a common agenda of will. Yes. Here in Turkey, being Turkey the country with the highest number at the moment of refugees, hosting 3.5 million Syrians plus other nationalities. We're talking about 4 million refugees right now in Turkey. Relates to the SDGs at least in one important way, which the SDGs and the Agenda 2030 makes a lot of emphasis on the concept of leave no one behind. Because before, there was also a common agenda, the Millennium Development Goals, but these were mainly crafted by countries from the north, okay, deciding on specific goals. This time all countries of the world got together and decided about the Sustainable Development Goals and didn't say that the objective is to reduce poverty or to reduce hunger, it's eradicating, eliminating. This means leaving no one behind. It means that every single person on the planet has the right to live in a decent way, what we call in UNDP the human development. And that's where refugees also come into the picture, because you can imagine that people who have to leave their own country because of conflict, not because on their own will, because they like to do so, their life is so much more difficult when they have to start from scratch in another country. And so that's why there are focus of our work also here in Turkey, not to leave anyone behind.